Right, thank you so much, Paul. Really appreciate that. The Democratic Republic of Congo has signed the East African Communities Treaty of Accession, making it the bloc's 7th member state. At the signing ceremony, President Felix Tshisekedi of the Democratic Republic of the Congo described his country's membership in the EAC as a boost to the region's economy. Now, the DRC has a population of 95 million people. It's got countless water bodies, extensive cropland, abundant biodiversity, and the world's second largest rainforest, as well as cobalt, gold, diamond, aluminium, copper, and other precious minerals. To discuss this move and its significance to the SADC region is the research consultant at the African Leadership Academy, Thomas Lesafar. Thomas, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for coming back onto the show. An important treaty that has been signed. Let's talk about some of the benefits for the DRC in particular with this.
So the DRC is really looking, the DRC is an economy, a mineral economy, right? So what they're really interested into is to export their minerals. And so far, the SADC used to be the best road to export their minerals, especially from the rich mining region of Katanga, which is a free trade agreement with our train, right? So a lot of those minerals used to be exported by Durban. So entering also this alliance will open the harbors of Mombasa and Dar es Salaam at really cheaper cost than passing by the SADC roads. Yeah,
because I mean, it's closer to them, gives them the access to the Indian Ocean now instead of having to come all the way down through the SADC region. But of course, this also will mean something for the citizens in terms of travel and business as well.
And that's what the East African Community offered that the SADC have had difficulty to offer, which is like full integrated region where citizens and goods can travel from the north of Congo to the south of South Africa, right? It has been really looking at by Congolese people that are today connected a lot to the east. So if you look at Congo, what you see is that the east of the country is very disconnected from the west, right? So for someone in the east of Congo, it's way simpler to go to Kigali, to go to Uganda, than to actually go to Kinshasa. It costs someone in the east $450 to go to Kinshasa, when it costs him $150 to arrive in Kampala, for instance, right? So the region is already integrated, but we needed some formal step to arrive to a full integration and to also ease the visa process, to ease the informal trade and make it like more formal within the state.
I mean, it's quite mind-blowing to think that there would be a visa process when you're sharing your border with 5 at least of the 6 members at the moment, excluding Kenya. I mean, that's Burundi, Rwanda, South Sudan, Tanzania, and Uganda. It's something that really should have happened a long time ago.
So that's why it's interesting in that case. If you look at the earliest time of 20th century, what you see is that East Africa is the main player of east of Congo, right? So you have a man named Tupu, for instance, and the whole economy of Congo, which is an economy of also exports, right, is taken away from the east to Zanzibar, to the Indian Ocean. So that's why you have a language like the Swahili language that is spoken in both Congo and Tanzania. So what you have is that you have a reverse of history, right? So before colonial time, Congo is connected mainly to the east and to Indian Ocean trade. What you have at the colonial time is a redirection towards the Atlantic, where the industrializations and all of this is happening from the Atlantic side to reach Europe, to the United States. And slowly but surely, Congo is in the between of those two blocks. Slowly but surely, it will be cut from the west, and slowly but surely, the east is going to integrate itself more with Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi. At the moment of the genocide, which I think is really the key moment, what you have is like Rwanda entering Congo in order to try to make sure that genocidal people are not staying in Congo ready to tackle back and fight back on Kagame. What you have is they create an alliance. Eastern countries create an alliance and topple Mobutu. When they topple Mobutu, what happened is the guys that took power, Laurent Desire Kabila, father, took power and start to realize that those eastern countries, Uganda, Rwanda especially, are starting to loot the country. They act like they're home. And that is unacceptable for him. So what he does is that he calls his friends, he looks for new alliances. And who is he going to find? He's going to find SADC countries. Angola, Zimbabwe, and South Africa will be here. So at the time, someone like Mandela, someone like Thabo Mbeki are really invested into trying to make sure that Congo get to the SADC regions and enter the SADC region with powerful ties, right? It's a lot of efforts. We're thinking of a lot of peace agreements in Sun City. I remember like Thabo Mbeki saying that it was really like complicated to organize a lot of faction, a gigantic country, right? A gigantic country. So the president in 1998 signed the SADC treaty. So he entered the SADC region, and Zimbabwe, Angola sent their army to Congo to kick out Rwanda and Ugandan powers. So at that moment, Congo really entered the SADC powerfully with the Kabila clan. His son will take power and maintain those ties. So the ties will be really, really strong with South Africa, with Johannesburg, with the Gauteng region. And what you see is in 2019, new President Felix Tshisekedi, that we've seen on the TV right now, President Tshisekedi knows that if he wants to stay in power, he needs to build his capacity. And in order to build his capacity, you have to cut ties with the SADC regions and cut ties with the Kabila regime, more or less. So he is going to try to move Congo towards the east and enter the East African community, so he creates new alliances that will help him to build his own capacity, to build his own networks of trade, and that will help the countries to move more to the west than to the south.
So what does that mean then for the SADC region in particular and that relationship?
Listen, I'm not working for the SADC regions, but my analysis is that it's a bit of an interesting move. What it says also is that the SADC hasn't really fulfilled fully the dream or the interest of Congo, and Congo is seeking also new alliances. So I think we should all be happy of a more integrated Africa. That's really, that's an agenda that is happening. The continental free trade is happening. So we should be happy to see that happening. And Tanzania is already in both the SADC and the East African trade. But what it says is that towards the next 10 to 20 years, the historic Congo trade will probably look more at the east than at the south, and it's the end of a chapter for the SADC region.
Sure. I mean, that's quite going to be quite an interesting chapter that is going to be coming to an end there. Let's talk about then, this actually coming into effect. The changes won't be immediate. There still has to be ratified and instituted these EAC laws. How long could this possibly take?
People speak of a year and a half. Tshisekedi is going to be in Kenya really soon. What I see is also happening is Kenyan's entrepreneurs are getting quite strong, right? So if you look at the last 15 years of Kenya, you see some burgeoning industrialization that is really interesting, and so they're looking for new markets. The East African market was too small, and suddenly DRC is coming in. You say 95 million people in DRC. It's probably more 100 million, 105 million by now, right? So the DRC is doubling the size of its market. So all the goods of Kenya can now also enter DRC. And that's where the historical analysis get interesting, because that's exactly what used to happen. Zanzibar and the Swahili coast used to bring textile, used to bring a lot of manufactured things from the Indian Oceans to the Congo in exchange of ivory and minerals. So you have a similar pattern that is repeating right now, where Kenyan entrepreneurs, Kenyan industrialists are thinking Congo is the market of tomorrow for us. But in exchange, what Congo can really do in East Africa, it will be mainly exporting is mineral for cheaper cost. Who is going to be saved by this? I believe, unfortunately, it's a country like China, a country that are already industrialized, and that is not going to help Congo industrializations, which will likely remain challenged by his new, more powerful neighbors, Kenya and Tanzania.
Let's talk about some of the challenges that you touch on as well. There's also insecurity within the Democratic Republic of Congo that is going to be a challenge for all the countries that are involved, and not like the other countries are much more secure though as well.
The east of Congo is one of the most complicated things to understand. I used to, when I'm in class and I try to explain that to my students, what I say is that Congo is it's a Netflix series. You have season 1, 2, 3. To understand what's going on that side, you need to be seriously focused. You need to understand the ground. You need to understand that this region is absolutely not connected to the west and highly connected to the east. And the neighbors of the east have strong interest into some form of looting. Let's be honest, some form of militias. So we know that Rwanda and Uganda have had a lot of interest into Congo minerals and have took some liberty to take some, especially early 2000. Now what we have seen is those militias have get autonomous. They autonomize themselves. They loot for themselves. They exchange. They buy weapons. Some people say it will be easier now to buy weapons in Congo than it used to be. Some others say that now maybe East African army can also interfere. And we know that the Tanzanian army and the Kenyan army, which are already busy in the north against Shabab in Somalia, might have some knowledge about it. But I really doubt that they will do what the MONUSCO and the United Nations that have paid $1 billion per year since the beginning of the 2000 to pacify that region of Congo will succeed. Let's hope that the economy will succeed where the politics have failed.
And I mean, that's going to be a very important part, the politics, the militarization of what happens there. Just lastly, I mean, we've seen now this bloc, the EAC, it was more of a post or former British colonialist bloc, or colonized countries.
Definitely.
Now we're seeing more francophone countries coming into it. What does that mean for inter-Africa trade and opening up the continent?
So as I said, I think it's a shift in the history where Congo used to be connected to the east, went connected to more European traders, especially French and Belgians. And now what we're going to notice is more entrepreneurs from East Africa to come in and try to take part of those markets. Will they succeed? Will they fail? I think we have an interest into saying that those are African entrepreneurs, so they understand the market better, so they might have interest that goes beyond simply like taking the minerals that they find. But they will also probably try to integrate themselves towards other language. And I think here Swahili is going to be important. We imagine that it is definitely a break. Tshisekedi is making a move that breaks the colonial history of his country, and I think of it as a decolonization moment for Congo. But in the same time, we also need to look at the real interest of the region, and I think one of them is to develop the Swahili language, which is the language of those people.
Yeah, of course, Swahili, French, Lingala, Kituba, as well as Chiluba. Those are the Congolese languages. Swahili, as you mentioned, would then, I would assume, be the dominant language there. In closing, how significant is this for the country, for the bloc, for the continent?
Listen, it's quite significant that Africa is continuing its march towards integrations. I think it's quite important that we realize that Congo is not completely taking out of the SADC, and maybe some say that it will open new roads between East Africa and the SADC regions, so we can hope for better development. But I think we need to be also really fully aware of the challenge of Congo, and Congo entering the East African trade is not the magic remedy. Congo has its own problem, as you said, of violence, of insecurity. But if more and more partners want to help, I think it would be welcomed.
Thank you for that. I really do appreciate that. That is the SADC region consultant at the African Leadership Academy, Thomas Lesafar, just telling us about that EAC treaty, East African Communities Treaty, that Congo's President Felix Tshisekedi signed not